afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast Lehr with me, your host, Imperial Dane. And today's topic, reading the map, or at least sort of how I define reading the map as. And obviously it involves a lot of sort of tactical acumen, to an extent also strategic acumen. So, I mean, to an extent, obviously just requires just to an extent knowing the map, you know, having an idea of what the paths are and the likes, you know, cover, so on there. But at the same time, it also sort of involves a slightly deeper understanding of what are the actually good flanking paths, what are the good paths to take in general on the map, but also very importantly reading the map with the enemy on it, because I mean you can't really do something without, you know, the enemy's involvement as well. So, and certainly for some players there always seems to be sort of the idea that they're not quite reacting as if the enemy's plans are actually something they have to bother with. So in that regard, reading the map with the enemy on it, of course, is a very important part of reading the map. You know, where's the enemy position, how is the position on the map, and then sort of, you know, further taking it from there. I'm using Samoski because honestly Samoski is sort of one of my just favourite examples of this, because a lot of people, well, you know, always just go for the straight path here. You know, just always see if they start here, they always go for it. Always. I mean, it's a terrible path. Honestly, they call it, you know, the well, clown pathway, a clown corridor, because basically you're just presenting yourself a nice little, you know, clown parade. All that music there, you sort of go through here and into there, for example. Like, it just is very much a fun. It's not a very good place to move from, to be honest. It's very easy to sort of contend. Your opponent gets here, even you know, just tilts up here. You're not going to get very far. I mean, it's just not very good compared to. I mean, we made a video so I specifically talk about this in Moscow, but I suppose we'll try more to ask that again. This is much better. I mean, again, this is also part of reading the map, that is reading what's actually a good place to attack from. I mean, for example, attacking through very narrow corridors where your opponent can easily clock you up, it's a bad place to attack from. Attacking across a much wider open frontage with several shot blocks that can, you know, give you more angles to attack from, but also a bit hard to spot out what you're actually doing, is good. I mean, this is, you know, again, just sort of a big difference. I mean, again, this is a much better path to attack into the village from, because, I mean, you've got sort of different places you can creep up on, and there's just much more wide frontage you can attack from. That's really an important part of actually attacking. That is not attacking through where it's easy for your opponent to defend, it's to attack through where, you know, it's easy, hardest for them to defend through, and that usually means as much open terrain, as many points they have to cover as humanly possible. So that's, you know, for example, an important part. I mean, I still remember, I think it was actually Sarah, the Maxim Master, you know, sort of complained, talked about, oh, well, sure, I could flank, but that takes too much time. I mean, again, you know, reading the map involves, you know, also putting in a bit of effort, you know, to actually properly flank. And obviously, again, in that regard, you know, reading the map also involves, you know, flanking. I mean, you know, generally you don't want to move in straight lines. You generally want to move more possibly curves at times, you know, to make it hard for your opponent to spot out and do what you do. Another part of reading map is also understanding maybe a bit capping orders, like, you know, you maybe want to send your more first unit, for example, straight for the fuel point, then use the secondary units, and then sort of grab the following up points. In that regard, you know, understanding which points and sort of the order to grab them in can also be a good idea, but also just, you know, what are good cut-off points and what are good paths to hit these cut-off points. You know, which way can sort of take to hit them, and that way disrupt your opponent's economy, while at the same time making it hard for you to be stopped and spotted. Again, in this regard, you know, wide frontage, a lot of shot blockers, all that, can, you know, make this a lot easier. And of course, again, it's sort of very abstract, because again, reading the map involves sort of a lot of things, so just, you know, having a general idea of how the map looks like and how to sort of play the best, but also how to react the best on it. So it's a bit sort of more difficult for me to specifically talk about, but there was apparently some interest, so I figured I'd give it a try. Though it's probably a topic I have to revisit down the road, but, you know, let's give it a go and see how it goes. But again, because see again, Clown Corridor, easily held up by a single MG42. Or any other machine gun. It could have been a Vickers, it could have been an MG34, well, maybe not the MG34, that's terrible, 50 caliber, Dishka, you know, all that. I mean, it's very easy to just hold up there and just not get very far. In this case, his answer was way too slow in getting out there, but you can sort of see there again, this is not a good attack vector. Yet again, for most people, they're just going to go through it because it's the shortest path. And again, you have to be careful about those shortest paths. Sure, they are easy to get through, but, you know, they're also easy for your opponent to stop if he knows what he's doing. So that's, you know, a very important, you know, of reading the map. It's understanding what are the good attack paths, but also be able to adjust them on the go. You know, if your opponent, for example, does something, you need to try to adjust what are the good attack paths, and, you know, take it from there. And generally, as a rule of thumb, the only point this is a good attack path is if your opponent is now all of a sudden focused here, then you're attacking again. This is also a part of reading the map. Again, that's be able to adjust your sort of mental map of the map, because again, you know, That's also good to keep in mind. Also, it illustrates maybe how the fog of war can also work, because it's not just what you can't actually see on the map. Like, for example, this is also what your mind cannot see. I mean, in that regard, your mental perception also plays a huge role, and you can even then add in, how you think your opponent is perceiving the map as well. I mean, that's also a big part. And again, in this regard, there's a lot more going on to it. And again, it's what makes it sort of a bit of a tricky topic to talk about. But as a rule of thumb, just try to think about possible flank paths and, consider cut-off points and, try to avoid clown corridors. I mean, again, clown corridors are bad for you, great for the enemy. They're great shooting gallery, but, they're not very good attack paths. And that's always, one thing you have to keep in mind, when considering the map. What are good paths for me to attack through? Another excellent map to highlight this is Angerville, with all the specifics, sharp corners that make for great harassment. It's really just another sort of good map to teach you about it. But again, I just want to point this out because I really can't stand people keep doing this. It makes literally no stinking sense, except if you're incredibly lazy and can't even consider this is actually a better path, but takes a bit more time than just still. Nope. I'm going to expose my men to pointless danger because I don't, want to spend like 10 extra seconds on this or 20 seconds extra on it, because, my men's preservation and the success of this mission is not what matters. What matters is I can do this fast. So, I mean, again, consider all those things, and of course also consider the fuel. I mean, again, a lot of people, and particularly when it comes to the Vanguard players, tend to focus on the center. The center is not everything. Remember, fuel. How's the fuel position? And then try to also, consider what the positioning is. I mean, if we can go further about this, but that's almost then at that point I'm beginning to talk about defensive theory, positioning of tactical reserves and so on there, which is honestly another possibly good video to make. But sort of overall here, very rough coverage of it, because again, it is one of those more abstract topics. How do you specifically sort of cover it? But I hope I've sort of made some sense of how to read the map. I mean, it's sort of somewhat broad aspect, at least in my opinion. Again, this is just my definition of it. This is how I perceive reading the map, and of course perception is very important. In fact, it's very important to me. I can always try to consider how does my opponent perceive the map, how as well. That's I like to tend to do, and then I try to actually exploit it, or try to set up something in that regard. It's kind of like a stage magician, sort of create an illusion and then sort of do some finicky stuff behind, while you're actually using their attention against some of the perception. And that's also an important part of it, because again, if your opponent using the clown corridor himself, you can try and turn them against him by setting up a devious trap, and just making it really hard, or just constantly hitting him everywhere else because he's just so focused on the clown corridor. So I mean, there's a lot there to sort of just try and unpack, which is again a bit tricky. But I'll probably have to revisit this topic. But that's just another video down the road. So there you go, sort of my attempt at covering reading the map. Hopefully it's been of some use to you, at least given some ideas as to how to sort of approach your maps a bit better. Don't think in straight lines, possibly think in curves. If possible, consider cut-off points, fuel points, capping orders, and also if possible, try to understand how your opponent is sort of looking at the map. You can sort of usually tell by how he's attacking. If it's just moving everything towards here, I mean, you can usually then sort of try to find out a counter plan that sort of uses perception against him if possible. So there's sort of a lot there. So again, hopefully this has been useful. If it has, subscribe, like, share and comment on it. If you like what I do, consider donating or pledging, since I try to do this for a living. I do kind of need money for food and rent, so if you can afford a bit or support a bit, that's nice. Patreon, PayPal, either's appreciated. Links are in the video description. And of course, a big thanks to all those who do already pledge on Patreon. You are certainly doing great work. This is Imperial Lane signing off. I'll be back another time with another video. This is Imperial Lane signing off. Cheers.